The dream team, many called it, a master stroke, said others. It's a big lift for Irish football, which will put the buzz back in the Irish game. Now, the focus, understandably, has been on Roy Keane, but let's focus at the start of this discussion on Martin O'Neill. What, John, will be his contribution? What will he bring to the party?
Well, I think Martin is a very, very intelligent football man who has a very, very good CV in the Premiership in England. I mean, I think he started with Wickham, did a very good job. He went to Leicester, where it wasn't a fashionable club, won the League Cup twice, I think, there. Went on to Celtic and had a very, very successful time there in Europe and domestically, and had one bad spell, or part spell, at Sunderland, which I think was very badly treated. So I think Martin is a very, very intelligent man. I think he's done his job extremely well. He's been very professional in what he's done, and I think he's been a very, very good manager, and I think he's an outstanding choice, or is an outstanding choice for us as manager of the Irish team.
You advocated him from the word go, Liam.
Yeah, I'm delighted he's there. I think John mentioned his time at Leicester City, where he worked with, you won't say average players, but players, certainly no star players, but what he moulded them into was a really strong, hard-working team. And I can see him trying to do the same things with the Irish team, because he's coming into a situation where we have no star quality. We have a lot of good, honest players, which I think O'Neill will get on with. And yeah, I'm delighted he's the manager. Absolutely delighted.
So I mentioned his spell at Villa, Bill. I don't know whether I mentioned his spell at Villa. No. Well, that was an outstanding spell. He took over from David O'Leary, where they were almost relegated, and finished, I think twice, at least twice.
Three times top six, John.
And in the top six, fifth and 2-6, which was outstanding management. And he's competing against all the top teams. So I'm sorry, I should have mentioned the Villa thing.
No. But he's not a tracksuit manager. Is that important, or is that a loss to us?
Well, no. If you look at his record, Bill, what he does well, and he's done outstandingly well at Celtic in particular. You know, Henrik Larsson was a big player for him at Celtic, but he didn't have that many stars. And I think he wasn't known for going out in the training ground and coaching as such. It was said that other people, Steve Walford or John Robertson, were doing other things. But international team manager, really, it's not so much about that. It's about common sense, a lot of it. It's about doing the work, knowing who the players are that you've got available. And basically, I think Martin O'Neill will bring common sense. He's an astute, intelligent guy. And I'm delighted that he's here. And the big question, I suppose, and this intrigues me and the whole country, why did he choose Roy Keane as his assistant? I think it could be inspired in a certain way. It could
be a train wreck, you said as well, and you also said it could be a Hollywood PR stunt.
It could be all of those things, Bill. But basically, all the media coverage has been, or much of it, has been about Roy Keane at the expense of a good look at Martin O'Neill. But what Keane brings, I think, and I don't know what was in Martin O'Neill's mind, maybe at a press conference he's holding on Saturday he'll tell us. But
I think he's undertaken to tell us exactly what role Roy Keane will play.
Yeah, John Delaney did on his behalf. Whether Martin will want to spell it out, I don't know. The point is, Keane brings a buzz. He has the country excited. He has the soccer community excited. He might make it easier to fill the Aviva for the game against Latvia and subsequently. And I think, I'm not sure what was in Martin's mind, but I'm glad that Keane is back. I think it's an inspired choice.
This sounds like St. Paul on the road to Damascus.
Not really.
Because you said the opposite a few times.
When?
Well, you have written that he's not suitable for management.
I said
but for team management, I suppose.
What I said in his two spells as manager at Sunderland and Ipswich, he didn't manage players well. He was publicly critical of them, which isn't good, and he fell out with the owners and all of that stuff. But he's been out of the game for 2 years now. He has great qualities, knowledge of the game. I think he has leadership qualities. He's a very intelligent guy. And the fact that O'Neill wants him is good enough for me.
Oh, yeah.
I back O'Neill's judgment, and I think it's an intriguing situation.
How will he fit in, Liam? Would you tell us now how Roy Keane will fit into this equation?
Well, I don't know, Bill. That's the honest answer. The only thing
Speculate.
Well, the only thing I can think of is that he'll be a John Robertson character that Martin O'Neill missed badly at Sunderland. John had been with Martin right from the outset, and he was a very he was a man that didn't like limelight. He stayed in the background, but I think he was honest with Martin, and he would give him an honest opinion about his team selections, and maybe an honest opinion about players they were interested in buying. And the only thing I can think of is that Keane's going to be the new John Robertson for
kind of
Martin O'Neill.
board, you mean,
Never in the history of football has a number 2 made so much news. And really, I don't understand why he's brought him back. And the only thing I can think of is...
Do you not approve?
Well, if you look at his track record, Eamon mentioned some of the things. His relationship with players, disastrous most of the time. His judgment of players, spent an awful lot of money on players when he got Sunderland promoted, and that wasn't good. At Ipswich, again, the same kind of things. So,
but this won't be his function this time.
They keep saying about Roy, he's got great knowledge. Well, if he had great knowledge and great leadership qualities, why didn't he make it in the managerial sphere? So the only thing I can think of is that Martin trusts him to give him an honest, direct opinion. But we will have to wait and see.
Before you go to John, just one other thing. I think Keane, in the European Championship, when Ireland got there, was highly critical, severely critical of our players and our fans and the whole culture around the Irish team.
Yeah.
He said, we're just going for the sing-song.
Exactly.
We don't set the bar high enough for ourselves. We don't expect as much as we should.
But it was a disaster, let's be honest about it.
But Martin O'Neill might have picked up on that, as well as having respect for Keane, the player, and a lot of the good things Keane did.
But why didn't he demonstrate that in his managerial career?
Well, because it's a different job, being the manager and making the decisions. Here, he doesn't have to make those decisions, but he still has qualities, Liam.
No, I know. I'm not talking about as a number 2. You're talking about what qualities he has. But why didn't those qualities work when he was a manager?
Maybe because he wasn't mature enough at that stage for a club manager's job.
And this is another opportunity to rehabilitate himself.
Redemption road,
and I,
in effect,
a bit like Eamon, would trust Martin O'Neill.
Yeah. Okay.
But let's not go on about leadership qualities and
that won't be his job.
And judgment and things like that.
But hang on a second now.
I think the things that you're critical of, or sort of critical of, not doing what he did, Liam, is the fact that he was the manager. And he was a young manager as well. He's coming into a situation now, working under an experienced manager, and the tasks that he will be given won't be the managerial tasks that he's given in the past, where some of them that he failed on. Now, you mentioned that selecting the players and things like that, for example, in the transfer market. He's not going into it. He won't be going into the transfer market.
That.
And I don't think his judgment of players has been good.
Yeah, but the people are saying he's a good judge of a player, his knowledge.
Well, hang on a second now. If you were listening to Prime Time last night, Eamon was on that programme. Ray Houghton had 2 hours with him and was hugely impressed by his knowledge of the whole Irish scene, his knowledge of the performance of the Irish team and how the Irish team conceded goals they shouldn't have conceded and may well have improved. And he was immensely impressed by him. And presumably
Bill,
that's the same.
Ray's a friend of mine, and you won't mind me saying this, but he would say that, wouldn't he?
But why would he say that?
Why? Because he was part of the process in selecting this managerial team.
But he wasn't. I don't
think it had any say.
I don't think he had any say in it either. I agree.
He was the headhunter, Bill. Ray was the headhunter. But
I know he was, but he didn't come into this particular equation.
You have to go back to the basics. Martin O'Neill was appointed the manager, and I've no doubt that Roy Keane was Martin O'Neill's choice.
There's no argument about that,
now,
I think. Yeah.
Martin O'Neill is the only one who would know what role he has to play in his setup.
Which hopefully he'll reveal on Saturday.
Well, whether he reveals it or not, Bill, I don't care. Right?
Because OK, John, you were an international team manager. What is the role of the assistant manager? Talk to us about your experience of the assistant manager.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is no stereotyped role for an assistant manager in any setup, because they change with the personality that's involved in it. Right? Brian Clough had Taylor as his assistant. Taylor wasn't on the pitch. He got the players in for him, and then Clough worked his magic. Jimmy Murphy and Matt Busby, Jimmy Murphy got the young players when they were ready for the first team. He handed them over to Matt. They were all different and different relationships. I don't think Matt Busby was very close to Jimmy Murphy on a social basis at all. So you can't say there's a stereotype how Martin O'Neill is going to treat Roy Keane as his assistant manager. But whatever he has in mind, and I don't know what it is, I would trust his judgment, Martin O'Neill, and what he can bring to the table. It might well be that because of his attitude as a player, that he might, his influence in being with the players would be an expectancy to go to win and drive like he did as a player. Because what you want to get from Keane is the things he had as a player, not the things that he's had in his short journey as a manager, because he's had his faults in that game. But time marches on, Bill. He's been 2 years out of the game, and what I find odd and not right is judging Roy Keane on his past record with different people. Because
I think what we're trying to do, John, is get to the bottom of why Martin O'Neill has picked him.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it.
But then it's right. You're explaining, but then it's right to say, well, you know, why has he picked him? Because he didn't do these things well, or he didn't do these things well?
There's a lot of things he didn't do well. But what the point I'm trying to finish on is that it's 2 years since Roy Keane managed anybody. He's 2 years out of the game. Right now, people can mature a lot, having made the mistakes that they made. And I think he's a very intelligent man to realise the mistakes I've made, I won't make them again.
Okay.
Now, I think this is an opportunity for him, Bill, to restore his reputation under an experienced manager and bring to the table what Martin O'Neill wants him to bring to the table.
Okay, put yourself in Martin O'Neill's mind at the moment. What skill set does Keane have?
Well, in my opinion, as a player, I mean, his greatness as a player, and it was undoubted, was his ability to read what was necessary at any moment in the game, what his team needed to be doing, what tempo they needed to be playing at. I remember the Dutch game, we had to win at Lansdowne Road. In the first minute of that match, he clattered Mark Overmars, and it was a very spectacular and bad foul, but he was sending out a signal. And that's the way he was. At Manchester United, the tempo of the team, he ordered people around, he got people in the right positions, he understood what was required. Now, that is knowledge of the game.
But that won't be his job.
Hold on a minute. No, but hold on a minute. But if Martin needs to talk to him, he'd be watching the game. He has got knowledge. He was a leader of men. At Manchester United and with the Irish team, he was a leader of men. And that's a skill set. And also, I think there is this element that he will bring an edge and an excitement to the stadium, to the team. If the stadium is full of exuberant and expected fans, the team will get a buzz from that and it will lift them. We've just come out of a regime, the Trapattoni era, where that was missing, and badly missing at home, where there was a sense that the coach and Tardelli did not believe the Irish players were good enough and that the bar was set very low. I don't think this new regime will give out those signals. I think they'll give out positive signals. I think they'll expect more. I think they'll know more about the players. I think they'll work harder. They'll go to the games, Roy Keane and Martin O'Neill, and I think we'll be all the better for that. And I think also they'll be none of the nonsense. They kept Seamus Coleman out of the team for 2 years, kept James McCarthy out of the team for 2 years, banished other people. All that stuff's gone.
And the system would be gone as well, you reckon, does it?
Well, I think Martin O'Neill, if you look at his record, actually is quite a conservative manager.
Does that mean we'll be watching dull football again for the next 2 years? No, it doesn't,
but let me remind you, he signed Emil Heskey a couple of times. He likes a big, strong centre forward. Chris Sutton at Celtic was a player he signed. John Hartson. He likes basics, common sense football. But you won't have the caveman stuff that we had under Trapattoni.
Okay. Now, Liam, you were assistant manager to Trapattoni. Given the fact that Roy Keane has had a less than great relationship with certain players, and certain players who are currently playing for Ireland, he walks into the dressing room. What would be the reaction on day one? I mean, you know quite a few of these players now from your experience.
I wouldn't say it was a similar situation, but I'd been on this panel for years when I went in with Giovanni Trapattoni, and I had to do my job properly here. I had to criticise players and things like that. You just walk in, and you know you shake people's hands and you get on with it, you know, and you show them respect, and hopefully they'll show you the respect back. And I think that'll be the case with
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think there'll be any.
There'll be no legacy of ill will or anything.
No. People want to get on. They want to be playing. You know, they want to be in the team. So you've got to conform. Do you know what I mean?
Players are very flexible in those ideas, in that situation, Bill, because it's in their interest to do well in the team, and it's in the, like in Liam going into it, Liam had criticised the players when he went in, but it was in Liam's interest for the team to do well, and it was in the players' interest to do well. So I don't think that's a problem for the players, for Roy Keane going in with the players. And I think also, I mean, it is a huge talking point, the Keane situation. How is he going to get on? Well, the fact is, Martin O'Neill is the manager, and it's only him, Bill, that will be able to. We're only guessing at what. I would agree with Eamon in Keane's reputation and its standards that he set himself. What made him a great player was to get the same standards from the players that he played with that he tried to get himself. And he drove players on and drove people on. Well, I think what he'll do, first of all, with the players, because of his reputation, I think the expectancy from him alone, will be much higher than it has been in the past. And that raises the expectancy of everybody. And that will be something, without even saying anything, Martin O'Neill to Roy, that he will bring to the party.
Yeah, and I think you've got to get back to the fact that Martin O'Neill is the manager,
Exactly.
Bill. You've got to really get back to that.
Correct.
And assistants can be all of the things that we've described, but Martin O'Neill is the manager, and the buck stops with him. And this is his first big decision, and it's a decision he wouldn't have taken lightly because he is an intelligent man. He knows what Roy Keane means to the public here in Ireland. So I'd be against it, but I'd be backing Martin's judgment.
Do you think it will work?
I'd be backing Martin's judgment.
I'd be optimistic about it, Bill. I'd be optimistic. Roy Keane, again, I keep going back to Roy Keane is 10 or 11 years older than he was in Saipan. He's also 2 years out of the game, which is a long time to do it. I think the big thing about the appointment of the two of them is this, that they're not coming in to just waste their time. Martin O'Neill is desperate to restore his reputation after the Sunderland affair. Roy Keane is desperate to get back into the game. That's a drive that can be missing sometimes in somebody, say, of Martin O'Neill's age. I don't think there's any doubt about it, that Martin will be desperate to do well, and I think Roy Keane is desperate to do well as well to get back into the game.
I hope Martin hasn't underestimated Keane's presence, because you know, when we watch these games that Ireland are going to play, we're going to be discussing Roy Keane's input, and Martin will have to put up with that. You know, because that's what the media is obsessed with it.
Yeah,
so they'll have to put up with that, won't they?
Over the course they will.
I just hope Martin has realised what bringing Keane back into this situation means.
Could I just make a point, Liam? It isn't the media obsessed with this. The public are entranced by it.
Entranced, that's correct.
And I am. As someone who loves the game, and John is, and I'm sure you are, intrigued and entranced. This is a great figure in Irish soccer.
That's right.
Two great figures, actually.
See that picture there, Bill? Is he looking at me, or is that
Well, if he is, he's not looking with any approval.
But the thing I think...
Paranoid. So we'll get no comment on Keane from you from now on, is that right?
Well, it's all about the manager and the players. You'll
picture.
get plenty of comment about the players and the manager and how they're playing.
I do think that it's wonderful for Irish soccer.
Yeah,
that we have these two great Irish players. But Martin won 2 European Cup winners' medals. We went to the quarter-final of the World Cup, captain Northern Ireland in 1982. Roy Keane is much garlanded as a player. Yeah, he made mistakes and had fallouts. But I still have respect for him as a football person, and he can bring a lot to the party. And already he's got a buzz going.
Huge
and
buzz.
I think the FAR to be complimented. Dennis O'Brien, who's funding a lot of this, is to be complimented. This is great for our game, which I think has been in
but you expressed a view in one of your columns that perhaps this is a showbiz thing.
Well, I think, look, we're in showbiz, baby. You know, you need a stadium full.
You do.
You need the players up. Yeah. You need the morale high. This is part of what sport is.
So you mean, is it?
I think Martin will have in his mind that this will be a positive thing.
Except
the public will buy into this.
Oh, they have already.
Yeah.
But can I ask you, go back to Liam a second. Liam, you gave me the impression that his primary role with Martin, Roy's primary role, will be as a sounding board. In other words, it will be a very special relationship between the two of them, rather than, or am I misinterpreting it, rather than Keane with the players, Keane with the FAI, and be Keane with the manager?
Do you remember that famous documentary that Graham Taylor did?
Oh, yeah.
When he had Phil Neal on his side. Yeah. And Graham Taylor would say, you know, this is what's happening. And Phil Neal would say, yes, boss.
That will not happen.
That will not happen.
True.
And I think Martin has selected Keane for that reason. Yeah, I think Keane will be honest. When they're in their room and they close the door and they'll say, well, what do you think of him? What do you think of him? Roy will give him a straight and honest answer.
And that's a hugely important role, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the only reason I
But I'm getting the impression from you that you disapprove of this, do you?
No,
I know you support the decision, but it would not have been your decision.
Well, I'm not in that position.
No,
I'm going down the road. I'm going down the road, as I said a few minutes ago, that I'm so delighted that Martin O'Neill's got the job, and if I have to put up with Roy Keane, so be it.
I think to get back to
and
the
you
show,
tell me this is unfair.
I think to get back to the showbiz thing, I think Eamon is right. Of course, the showbiz in football, but as long as it's not the main reason, Bill. And I think Eamon doesn't believe it. I don't think it's the main reason. It is showbiz, and I think it's great and it's lifted everybody. But Martin O'Neill, I don't think, would make the decision to have Roy Keane just for the buzz.
All right, can I just make a point? Lyndon Johnson, who was vice president.
I know what you're going to say.
He was vice president of the United States when John F. Kennedy was president. And he said, vice presidency, he'd been the leader of the Senate and a very powerful man in Washington, the most powerful. He said, the vice presidency, he was quoting another vice president, isn't worth a warm bucket of spit. And if the assistant manager in many cases, in many clubs, is usually a doormat.
You said to me that you had that experience with John at Shamrock Rovers.
I did, actually. The point is
I couldn't see you as the doormat.
I've never treated anybody as a doormat.
It depends. Nobody knows who the assistant manager of Wales is. Nobody knows who the assistant manager of Spain is, or Brazil. That's the point Liam's making. I think it's well made. It's necessary to make that and focus on Martin O'Neill and his leadership. But personally, I welcome Roy Keane coming back into the heart of Irish football. I think he'll bring an abundance of knowledge about the players that are there at the moment.
The Irish game, the Irish culture, all that. That'd be fantastic, and I agree 100%. No, there are major decisions to be made in the short term. You were making the point, John, that this team is lucky because we could have conceivably 6 friendly matches before the Europeans start.
Well, there's always difficult decisions to make, Bill, in players. You're talking about whether Robbie Keane is going to be over the hill or Martin O'Neill thinks he is. Well, Martin will come into the job, and what I was saying before the programme was that he doesn't have a competitive match for almost a year.
That's right.
So there could be as much as 6 friendly matches between now and the first competitive match. That gives Martin plenty of time to look at Robbie Keane, and I don't want to single Robbie Keane, but any of the senior players, whether he thinks they're ready for it or over the hill or not. And that's an advantage to him, that he can actually see. We can't make up Martin O'Neill's mind. He will see it for himself. When he plays these, if Richard Dunn is still well able to do it, which we hope he is, and Robbie Keane, then they'll play. Andy Reid, all these guys.
Houlihan.
Well, Houlihan, but he'll have a good look at them, Bill. And then decide before the competitive. He's not starting off with a competitive match.
But he won't have a closed mind and with a particular type of game in mind.
I think this is.
I don't know about that, Bill.
Why did you say that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether a player like
Andy
Reid...
Is he a 4-4-2 man, is he?
Yeah, I don't know whether a player like Andy Reid would fit into this situation.
Well, I'll tell you what he will do, Bill. Liam, he'll give him a go.
Well, we'll see.
Well, I'd be surprised if we don't.
But anyway, lads, we celebrate, don't we?
Yes, I think
it's a brilliant day, you called it yesterday. A brilliant day for Irish football.
I think it is brilliant for Irish soccer to have these 2 great people back running our national team.
Eamon said that about Trapp as well.
I did say that when we got Trapattoni. I was delighted. He had the most decorated manager in Europe. A pity he didn't work.
Yeah, no, I'm just warning your viewers.
In
other words, a sense of deja vu, is it? You'll be seeing that in 2 years' time, will you?
Well, I hope Eamon is, and we all hope it.
We all hope it's a huge success.
I hope that Eamon's still singing the same song when he...
Yeah, exactly. And I hope we qualify for Europe. I won't be around for it, but I hope we make it. I'll watch your comments, though.